You fit the description. The words hit before the sirens even finished fading. Red and blue lights washed over the wet pavement of a quiet Charlotte street as Officer Daniel Reeves stepped out of his cruiser, one hand already resting near his belt, the other pointing straight at Marcus Bennett. Marcus stopped mid-step, his leather briefcase still in his right hand, rain tapping steadily against its worn surface. "I just left a federal building," Marcus said evenly, glancing at the badge clipped to Reeves' chest, then back to his eyes. "You might want to be more specific." Reeves didn't answer that. He closed the distance in 3 long strides and turned Marcus toward the patrol car with firm, controlled pressure. It wasn't chaotic. It was practiced. The kind of movement that came from years of believing you were right before asking questions. Across the street, a woman paused beside a glowing Waffle House sign, a coffee cup halfway to her lips. A pickup truck idled at the light, windshield wipers squeaking in rhythm. Someone inside lifted a phone. Marcus placed his briefcase carefully on the hood before Reeves could knock it aside. "There's a protocol for this," he said, voice steady but sharper now. "You can ask. You don't have to assume." Reeves gave a short breath that almost sounded like a laugh. "Step 1 is you listen. Step 2 is you comply." His tone stayed level. His eyes didn't. They were already decided. Marcus held his hands where they could be seen, palms open, shoulders squared. "And step 3, he replied quietly, is you make sure you've got the right man." The rain picked up, tapping harder against the cruiser roof, against the streetlights, against the silence building around them. Reeves reached for Marcus' ID without waiting for permission, flipping through it quickly, then slower. His brow tightened for a fraction of a second before smoothing out again. "Marcus Bennett," he read aloud. "You were reported 2 blocks from here. Same build. Same coat." Marcus glanced down at his navy overcoat, still damp from the walk from the federal courthouse. "That's not probable cause," he said. "That's convenience." Reeves ignored that and moved to the briefcase. He unlatched it and opened it halfway, just enough to see a stack of neatly organized documents, a slim tablet, and a sealed envelope marked with a government insignia. He hesitated for a moment, then shut it again. "You carrying anything else I should know about?" he asked. Marcus met his gaze again. There was no panic there. Only calculation. "Just patience," he said. "And it's running out." The pickup truck's engine revved slightly as the light turned green, but it didn't move. The driver leaned forward, watching. The woman by the Waffle House lowered her cup. Even the hum of the neon sign seemed louder now. Reeves reached for his radio. "Dispatch, I've got a possible match," he said, eyes still locked on Marcus. "Running the name now." A crackle answered him. Then a pause. Marcus shifted his weight slightly, not resisting, not stepping back, just adjusting his stance like someone preparing for a conversation that mattered. "You ever wonder," he said, voice calm but cutting through the rain, "how many mistakes start exactly like this?" Reeves didn't respond. But his grip on the radio tightened just enough to notice. The static stretched longer than it should have. Then dispatch came back, slower this time. "Unit 12, confirm the name again." Reeves repeated it. "Marcus Bennett." Another pause. Longer. Different. Marcus tilted his head slightly, watching the officer now instead of the other way around. "Go ahead," he said quietly. "Ask them what else comes with that name." Reeves frowned, just slightly, and pressed the radio closer. The rain softened for a moment, like the night itself was listening. And somewhere inside that silence, something shifted, just enough to suggest this stop was about to become something else entirely. The radio stayed quiet just a second too long. Officer Reeves lowered it slightly, eyes narrowing as he looked at Marcus again, this time with a flicker of something new under the surface. Not respect, not yet, but hesitation. "Dispatch, don't play games," he said, voice tighter now. "You got something, say it." The response came back, slower, more careful. "Unit 12, confirm date of birth." Reeves glanced at the ID. Again, rain dripping off the edge of the card onto his hand. March 14, 1987, he read. Another pause followed. Longer than before. Marcus watched him closely, then shifted his gaze toward the black SUV that had just turned the corner and rolled to a quiet stop about 20 feet behind the patrol car. Its headlights stayed on. Engine running. No one stepped out yet. You might want to listen real close, Marcus said, his voice low but steady, cutting through the rain and the hum of the idling engines. Reeves didn't turn around. He kept his focus forward, but his posture stiffened slightly. You don't get to tell me how to do my job, he replied. Not tonight. Marcus gave a small nod, almost to himself. That's usually when things go wrong. Across the street, the woman by the Waffle House took a step closer to the curb, her phone now fully raised, recording. The pickup truck driver rolled down his window, rain tapping against the door frame as he leaned out just enough to see better. The scene had shifted. It was no longer just a stop. It was a moment people felt they needed to witness. Reeves lifted the radio again. Dispatch, I'm waiting. Static answered first. Then a different voice came through, sharper, more formal. Unit 12, stand by. Do not proceed further until confirmation is complete. Reeves frowned. What do you mean don't proceed? I've got him right here. He looked at Marcus again, this time scanning him more carefully. The coat. The posture. The calm. None of it matched the urgency he had expected when he stepped out of the cruiser. Marcus didn't move. He didn't need to. Ask them what case file is attached to that name, he said quietly. Go ahead. I'll wait. Reeves exhaled through his nose, then pressed the radio again. Dispatch, what case file? The response didn't come immediately. Instead, the driver's side door of the black SUV opened with a soft, controlled motion. A man in a dark suit stepped out, followed by another. Both moved with purpose, not rushing, not hesitating. Their shoes hit the wet pavement with quiet precision as they started walking toward the scene. Reeves finally turned his head just enough to notice them. His jaw tightened. Who are they? He asked, more to himself than anyone else. Marcus followed his glance briefly, then looked back at Reeves. That depends, he said. Did you ask the right question yet? The radio crackled again. Unit 12, that name is flagged federal. Repeat, flagged federal. Advise immediate caution. The words hung in the air, heavy, unmistakable. Reeves' grip on the radio shifted. His stance adjusted, just slightly, like a man recalibrating in real time. Federal, he repeated under his breath. The two men from the SUV were closer now, their badges still hidden, their expressions unreadable. The crowd across the street had gone completely still. Even the neon buzz seemed to fade behind the tension building in the space between them. Marcus reached slowly for his briefcase, not opening it yet, just resting his hand on the handle. You've still got time to handle this the right way, he said, voice calm, controlled, and unmistakably firm. Reeves looked at him, really looked this time, and something in his expression shifted again. Less certainty. More calculation. He swallowed once, then asked, what exactly am I dealing with here? Marcus held his gaze for a beat longer, then replied quietly, that depends on what you do next. The two suited men stopped just a few feet away, rain sliding off their shoulders as one of them finally spoke. Officer Reeves, he said, voice even. We're going to need you to step back. Reeves didn't move. Not yet. His eyes flicked between Marcus, the agents, and the radio still in his hand. And for the first time since the stop began, it was no longer clear who was in control of the situation. Officer Reeves did not step back. Not immediately. The rain continued to fall, steady and cold, tracing lines down his uniform as his eyes locked onto the two men in suits. One of them reached slowly into his coat and produced a badge, holding it low but clear enough under the streetlight. Gold. Federal. The kind of detail that changed the air in seconds. "We're not asking twice," the agent said calmly. Reeves exhaled, a controlled breath, then finally took one step back from Marcus. It was small, but everyone saw it. The shift had begun. Marcus did not move. His hand remained on the briefcase, fingers resting lightly on the handle, as if the weight inside mattered more than anything happening around him. Across the street, the woman lowered her phone just slightly, confusion replacing certainty. The pickup truck driver leaned further out, his expression no longer curious but cautious. Reeves glanced down at the ID again, then back at Marcus. "You could have said something sooner," he muttered. Marcus tilted his head, just enough to catch the words. "I did," he replied quietly. "You just didn't hear it." The second agent stepped closer now, positioning himself just off Marcus' right side, not protective, not aggressive, just present. "Mr. Bennett," he said, voice measured, "we've been trying to reach you for the last 15 minutes. Marcus gave a faint nod. "I turned my phone off after the hearing," he said. "I needed a minute." The agent's expression tightened slightly. "You don't have that luxury tonight." Reeves looked between them, the pieces starting to rearrange in his mind. "What hearing?" he asked, sharper now, as if trying to reclaim ground that had already slipped. Marcus finally lifted the briefcase and opened it, slow and deliberate. Inside, the contents were neatly arranged. A federal case file stamped with a bold red stripe. A digital recorder. A sealed envelope marked with the Department of Justice insignia. Rain tapped against the open lid as Marcus reached in and pulled out a thin folder. He held it for a moment, then looked directly at Reeves. "The kind that puts people in handcuffs," he said. "Just not the ones you were expecting." Reeves' jaw tightened. "You saying I'm part of something?" His voice was lower now, less certain, but still holding on to control. Marcus did not answer right away. Instead, he flipped open the folder and revealed a single photograph clipped to the inside. It showed a man in a uniform. Same department. Same patch on the shoulder. Standing beside a patrol car under bright daylight. Reeves' patrol car. The number on the side was visible. Clear. Undeniable. The agent beside Marcus glanced at the photo, then at Reeves. "We've been building a case for months," he said. "Internal reports. Civilian complaints. Stops that don't line up." Reeves' expression shifted again, this time faster, sharper. "That doesn't prove anything," he said. "You don't know what it's like out here." Marcus closed the folder halfway, his gaze steady, unblinking. "I know exactly what it's like," he said. "I've been on both sides of that line." For a brief second, something flickered behind his eyes. Not anger. Not fear. Memory. A younger version of himself, standing on a curb in a different city, hands raised, trying to explain something no one wanted to hear. The image passed quickly, but it left a mark in the present. Reeves saw it. He did not understand it, but he saw it. The agent stepped forward another inch. "Officer Reeves, we need you to hand over your radio." Reeves hesitated. His fingers tightened around the device. The rain seemed louder now, bouncing off metal, off asphalt, off tension that had nowhere to go. Marcus watched him carefully, then spoke again, softer this time. "You still think this is about a wrong stop?" he asked. Reeves looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, the question landed. Not as defiance. As possibility. His grip loosened, just slightly. And that was when Marcus reached into the briefcase again, pulling out the sealed envelope this time, the one marked with the Department of Justice seal, and said quietly, "Because this part, you haven't seen yet." Marcus held the envelope between two fingers for a moment longer, letting the weight of it settle into the space before he moved. The Department of Justice seal caught the streetlight, rain sliding across the embossed eagle in thin silver streaks. Officer Reeves stared at it, then at Marcus, then back at the agents, as if trying to decide which version of reality to hold onto. "You're telling me this is official?" he asked, voice lower now, controlled but no longer steady. Marcus did not answer right away. He broke the seal slowly, the paper tearing clean under his grip, and pulled out a folded document. Thick stock. Government watermark. The kind you did not mistake. He opened it fully and turned it just enough for Reeves to see the header. United States Department of Justice. Formal. Direct. Final. The first agent stepped closer, scanning the page briefly, then nodding once. "That's the warrant," he said. Reeves blinked. "Warrant for what?" Marcus lifted his gaze, calm but firm. "For access," he said. "Records. Stops. Body cam archives. Internal logs." Reeves shook his head once, a short, dismissive motion that did not carry the same weight it would have 10 minutes ago. "You don't get that without cause," he said. Marcus folded the document back slightly, not hiding it, just controlling how much was seen. "We didn't," he replied. "At first." The rain softened again, turning from a steady fall into a fine mist that hung in the air. The woman across the street lowered her phone completely now, her attention fixed on the paper in Marcus' hand. The pickup truck engine cut off, the driver stepping out slowly, boots hitting the pavement with a quiet thud. The scene had shifted again. It was no longer about a stop. It was about evidence. Marcus reached back into the briefcase and pulled out the digital recorder. Small. Black. Unremarkable. He pressed a button, and a faint click cut through the air. Then a voice filled the space. Slightly distorted, but clear enough. "Run it anyway. He fits close enough." The recording paused. Reeves' face tightened. "That's not," he started. Marcus pressed play again. Another voice. Same tone. Same cadence. "Don't worry about the report. I'll write it clean." The recording stopped. Silence followed. Heavy. Immediate. The first agent glanced at Reeves, then back at Marcus. "We pulled that from a bodycam audit last week," he said. "Timestamp matches 3 separate stops." Reeves' grip on the radio loosened further. His thumb hovered over the button, but he did not press it. "You're taking that out of context," he said, but the words came slower now, less certain. Marcus stepped forward half a step, closing the distance just enough to shift the balance again. "Context doesn't change the pattern," he said. "It just explains how long it's been happening." Reeves looked at him, searching for something to push back against, something to anchor himself. "You've been watching me," he said. Marcus did not deny it. "We've been watching the system," he corrected. "You just happen to be part of it." The second agent reached out, palm open. "Officer Reeves, I'm going to need that radio now." This time, Reeves hesitated only a second before placing it in the agent's hand. The movement was small, but final. Across the street, the neon sign flickered once, then steadied, casting a pale glow over the wet asphalt. Marcus folded the warrant carefully and slid it back into the envelope, then into the briefcase. His movements were precise, controlled, like someone who understood exactly what each step meant. Reeves swallowed once, his eyes shifting between the recorder, the agents, and Marcus. "So what now?" he asked quietly. Marcus closed the briefcase with a soft click, then looked at him, steady and unreadable. "Now," he said, "we see how far this actually goes." He paused for just a fraction of a second, then added, "Because your name isn't the only one in that file." The silence after Marcus' last sentence did not hold. It cracked. Officer Reeves straightened slightly, something hard returning to his posture as if instinct refused to fully surrender. He glanced past Marcus, toward the dark SUV, then toward the street behind it. Another set of headlights appeared at the far end of the block. A second patrol car. Then a third, slower, turning the corner with deliberate timing. The sound of tires on wet pavement cut through the moment. Reinforcements. Reeves exhaled once, steadier now. You really think this ends here, he said, voice low but regaining edge. You walked into my district, my stop, my call. The first agent shifted his stance, subtle but alert. This isn't your call anymore, he replied. Reeves did not look at him. His eye stayed on Marcus. You don't know how this works, he said. Reports get written. Stories get aligned. People back each other up. The second patrol car door opened. 2 more officers stepped out, scanning the scene, confusion flickering across their faces as they took in the agents, the open briefcase, the crowd that had grown just enough to matter. One of them called out, Reeves, what's going on? Reeves did not answer immediately. He took one slow step to the side, creating space, repositioning himself not as the center of the scene but as part of something larger. It was subtle. Strategic. The pressure had shifted again. Marcus noticed. His grip on the briefcase tightened just slightly before relaxing again. He had seen this before. Not on a street. Not like this. But in rooms where power did not leave quietly. You're not the only one with a network, Reeves continued, louder now, enough for the arriving officers to hear. You think a couple of recordings and a piece of paper changes everything. Marcus met his gaze, calm but sharper now. It doesn't change everything, he said. It reveals it. The third patrol car door opened. A sergeant stepped out this time. Older. Measured. His uniform carried weight that did not need volume. He walked forward slowly, eyes moving from Reeves to the agents, then settling briefly on Marcus. Someone want to explain why half my night just showed up on this block, he asked. The first agent stepped forward, producing his badge again, holding it higher this time. Federal investigation, he said. Active warrant. We're taking over. The sergeant studied the badge, then glanced at Reeves. A beat passed. Then another. Reeves spoke before the sergeant could. With all due respect, he said, this started as a lawful stop. I'm not handing it off without clarity. It was a move. Not loud. Not reckless. But enough to slow the transfer of control. The sergeant's eyes narrowed slightly. You got that clarity, he asked. Reeves hesitated. Just enough to be seen. Marcus stepped forward half a step, opening the briefcase again. This time, he did not reach for the warrant or the recorder. He pulled out the tablet. The screen lit up under the rain, protected by a thin cover. He tapped once, then turned it outward. A list appeared. Names. Badge numbers. Dates. Stops. Each line precise. Each entry documented. The sergeant leaned in slightly, eye scanning. Reeves did not. He already knew. You've been tracking all of it, the sergeant said quietly. Marcus nodded once. Long enough to see patterns, he replied. Reeves let out a short breath, something between frustration and realization. You think that list scares me, he said. Half those stops are clean. Marcus held his gaze. Half, he repeated. The word landed heavier than expected. The second agent stepped closer to the sergeant, lowering his voice but not enough to disappear completely. We've got cross-referenced complaints tied to those entries, he said. Civilian footage. Internal inconsistencies. The sergeant straightened, his attention shifting fully now. The balance was no longer hovering. It was tipping. Reeves saw it. He felt it. And for the first time, something close to urgency entered his voice. You're making a mistake, he said, looking at the sergeant. You don't know what this turns into. Marcus closed the tablet slowly, the soft click echoing louder than it should have. We do, he said. That's why we're here. The rain picked up again, heavier now, drumming against metal and glass, washing the street in a steady rhythm. The crowd had gone completely still. Even the officers who had just arrived were no longer speaking. They were watching. Waiting. Reeves looked around once, taking in the agents, the sergeant, the witnesses, the evidence that was no longer hidden. Then he looked back at Marcus. His voice dropped. "If you open that door," he said, "you better be ready for what walks out." Marcus did not look away. "I've been ready longer than you think," he replied. And somewhere behind the line of patrol cars, another vehicle turned the corner, darker, unmarked, moving slower than the rest, as if it had been expected all along. The unmarked vehicle did not rush. It rolled forward slowly, cutting through the rain with quiet authority, its dark paint reflecting the flashing lights without returning any of their urgency. Every set of eyes shifted toward it. Even Officer Reeves turned fully now, his shoulders tightening again, but this time not from control. From recognition. The car came to a smooth stop just behind the line of patrol units. The engine stayed running. No siren. No announcement. Just presence. The driver's door opened first. A woman stepped out. Mid-40s. Navy coat. Hair pulled tight. She did not look at the crowd. She did not look at the officers. She looked straight at Marcus. "You took longer than expected," she said as she walked forward, her voice calm, measured, carrying through the rain without effort. Marcus gave a small nod. "I needed confirmation," he replied. Reeves' eyes moved between them. "Who is that?" he asked under his breath, but no one answered him. The first agent stepped slightly aside, making space without being told. That alone said enough. The woman reached Marcus and stopped just close enough to see the briefcase, the tablet, the envelope now sealed again. "Do you have it?" she asked. Marcus looked at her for a beat, then reached into the inner pocket of his coat. Not the briefcase. Not the visible evidence. Something else. He pulled out a slim flash drive, black, no markings. Small enough to miss if you were not looking for it. Reeves leaned forward slightly without realizing it. "What is that?" he asked, sharper now. Marcus did not look at him. He held the drive between his fingers, then passed it to the woman. "Full timeline," he said. "Every stop. Every report. Every edit." The woman took it, her expression unchanged, but her grip firm. "You were recording live?" she asked. Marcus nodded once. "Body cam pulls weren't enough," he said. "Too many gaps. I needed continuity." The second agent glanced at the drive, then back at Marcus. "You didn't log that with us," he said. Marcus met his eyes briefly. "I couldn't risk it getting filtered," he replied. The word filtered hung in the air longer than it should have. The sergeant heard it. His posture shifted slightly, attention sharpening. "Filtered by who?" he asked. Marcus finally turned toward him. "That's what we're about to find out," he said. Reeves took a step forward now, no longer holding back. "You're saying this goes above me?" he asked, his voice no longer defensive, but searching. Marcus looked at him, steady, direct. "I'm saying you're not the top of the list," he replied. That landed differently. Not as accusation. As structure. The woman slid the flash drive into her coat pocket, then glanced at the agents. "We moved this off the street," she said. "Now." The first agent nodded. Agreed. But Marcus did not move. He remained where he stood, rain soaking through his coat now, his hand resting lightly on the briefcase again. The woman noticed. "Marcus," she said, quieter this time. "We're done here." He shook his head once. "Not yet," he replied. Reeves watched him closely. "What do you mean not yet?" he asked. Marcus shifted his weight slightly, then looked past Reeves, toward the line of patrol cars, toward the officers who had arrived thinking this was routine, toward the witnesses who had stayed because something felt wrong from the start. Because if we leave now, he said, this becomes paperwork. He paused, letting that settle, then added, and paperwork gets buried. The sergeant's jaw tightened. He understood that. The woman studied Marcus for a moment longer, then asked, "What are you proposing?" Marcus took a slow breath, then reached into the briefcase one more time. This time, he pulled out a second recorder. Smaller. Different model. He pressed a button. A new audio file began to play, clearer, closer, unmistakable. A voice. Not Reeves. Higher rank. Keep it quiet. We don't need another complaint reaching the city. The rain seemed to stop for a second, even though it did not. Every person on that street felt the shift. Reeves' eyes widened just slightly. That's command, he said under his breath. Marcus looked at him, then at the sergeant, then at the woman. Now we decide, he said quietly, whether this stays small or gets seen. And the woman, for the first time since stepping out of the car, did not answer immediately. The woman finally moved. Not away, not forward, but slightly to the side, as if adjusting her position gave her a clearer view of everything at once. The rain continued, steady again, tapping against metal, against glass, against the silence that had settled over the street. She looked at Marcus, then at the recorder still playing the voice of command, then at the sergeant. "Play that again," she said. Marcus did not hesitate. He pressed the button. The voice repeated, clearer this time. "Keep it quiet. We don't need another complaint reaching the city." The words hung. Longer now, heavier, undeniable. The sergeant's face changed. Not dramatically, but enough. His shoulders squared, his attention sharpening in a different direction. "That's not just command," he said slowly. "That's my captain." Reeves turned toward him quickly. "You sure?" he asked. The sergeant nodded once, eyes still fixed ahead. "I've heard that voice every briefing for 5 years. That shifted everything. Not suspicion. Not theory. Identification." The first agent stepped closer to Marcus, lowering his voice just slightly. "You knew it was him," he said. Marcus shook his head once. "I knew it wasn't isolated," he replied. "This just confirms how high it goes." The woman reached into her coat and pulled out a secure phone. "No case. No markings." She dialed quickly, then turned slightly away, her voice low but firm. "We have a confirmed voice match. Rank, captain level." "Yes." "On-site verification." She paused, listening, then added, "No, we're not pulling back." She ended the call and turned back to the group. Reeves watched her closely now, the last of his earlier certainty gone. "You're bringing this up the chain?" he asked. "Tonight." The woman met his gaze. "It's already above your chain," she said. The second agent stepped toward the patrol cars, signaling the other officers to hold their positions. No one moved closer. No one left. The street had become a perimeter without being called one. Marcus closed the recorder, the click sharp in the damp air, then slipped it back into the briefcase. His movements remained controlled, deliberate, as if every second had been accounted for long before this moment. Reeves ran a hand across his face, rain mixing with something heavier now. "You set this up," he said, looking at Marcus. "This stop. This whole thing." Marcus held his gaze. "I didn't set it up," he replied. "I let it happen." That landed harder than anything before. Reeves frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" Marcus took a small step forward, not aggressive, not defensive, just enough to shift the space again. "I knew this area," he said. "I knew the pattern of stops. Time of night. Type of vehicle. I matched it." Reeves stared at him. "You walked into this?" Marcus nodded once. "Because patterns don't expose themselves," he said. "You have to meet them where they happen." The sergeant looked between them, the realization settling deeper now. "You used the system to show the system," he said quietly. Marcus glanced at him. "Exactly." The woman stepped closer again, her focus now fully on Marcus. "Then you knew this could escalate," she said. Marcus did not look away. "I needed it to," he replied. The rain intensified for a moment, drumming against the vehicles, washing the street in a steady rhythm that made everything feel sharper, more immediate. Across the line of patrol cars, one of the newer officers shifted his weight, glancing uncertainly at the sergeant, then at Reeves, then back at the agents. The chain of command was no longer clear. Reeves noticed it too. His voice dropped. "If this goes where you think it's going," he said, "you're not just exposing me." Marcus met his eyes, calm, unwavering. "I know," he said. A pause followed. Then Reeves asked, quieter now, almost to himself, "So who else is on that list?" Marcus did not answer right away. He reached into the briefcase one more time, slower this time, more deliberate, and pulled out a second folder. Thicker. Heavier. He held it for a moment, then looked at the woman, then at the sergeant. "You both might want to see this," he said. And when he opened it, the first name at the top was not Reeves. It was someone neither of them expected. The folder opened just enough for the top line to catch the light. The name sat there, printed in clean Federal type, impossible to ignore once seen. The sergeant leaned in first, then stopped halfway, as if his body hesitated before his mind could process it. That's internal affairs," he said, voice tightening. Marcus did not look surprised. He simply turned the folder slightly so both the woman and the sergeant could read it clearly. Badge number. Division. Dates that stretched back further than anyone expected. Reeves let out a short breath, almost a laugh, but it carried no humor. "You went past us," he said, shaking his head slowly. "You went straight through." The woman's expression shifted the first time, not shock, but calculation. She closed the distance by one step, her voice lower now. "How many layers?" she asked. Marcus answered without hesitation. "Enough that if we move too early, it collapses inward," he said. That changed the tempo. The agents exchanged a quick glance. The sergeant straightened, his earlier uncertainty replaced by something sharper, more cautious. "So we hold," he said. Marcus nodded once. For a few more minutes. Reeves looked between them, something returning to his posture again, but this time it was different. Not control. Opportunity. "You think you're the only one who understands timing," he said, voice steadying. He turned slightly, looking toward the patrol cars, toward the officers who had arrived and were still waiting for direction. "Sarge," he called out, louder now, "we've got a federal situation with unclear jurisdiction. I'm requesting we secure the scene until command arrives." The words were careful. Not defiant. Strategic. The sergeant hesitated. Just a fraction. Then nodded once. "Hold positions," he said to the officers. The shift was subtle but real. The street tightened again. Not chaos. Containment. Marcus watched it happen, his expression unchanged, but his fingers tapped once against the briefcase handle. A small movement. Easy to miss. The woman noticed. "You expected that," she said quietly. Marcus gave a slight tilt of his head. "I expected resistance," he replied. Reeves stepped closer now, not crossing any lines, but enough to re-enter the center of the space. "You've got recordings," he said. "You've got names. But you're still standing out here, in the open, waiting." He leaned in just enough for his voice to drop. "That's not how you close something like this." Marcus met his gaze, calm, steady. "I'm not closing it," he said. "I'm opening it." The rain eased again, turning into a fine mist that hung under the streetlights. The neon sign flickered once, then steadied. Somewhere in the distance, another siren sounded, faint, approaching but not urgent. Reeves followed the sound, then looked back at Marcus. "Command's already on the way," he said. "And when they get here, this gets pulled in. Controlled. Quiet." The word quiet lingered. The same word from the recording. The same tone. The woman heard it too. Her eyes shifted slightly, recalculating. "We don't let that happen," she said. Marcus did not answer immediately. Instead, he reached into the briefcase again, slower this time, more deliberate. He pulled out a small, folded sheet of paper. Not official. Not stamped. Just plain. He unfolded it once, then again, revealing a printed map of the city grid. Several intersections were marked in red. Times written beside them. Dates. Patterns. He held it out just enough for the woman to see. "It's not just here," he said. Reeves caught a glimpse of it, his expression tightening. "You've been tracking multiple zones," he said. Marcus nodded. "Same pattern. Different officers. Same timing windows." The sergeant stepped closer, eyes scanning the map. "This is coordinated," he said quietly. Marcus looked at him. "That's the word I was waiting for," he replied. The pressure shifted again. Not away from Marcus. Toward something larger. Reeves felt it. He straightened, his voice firmer now. "Then you've got a bigger problem than me," he said. Marcus met his eyes. "I know." A beat passed. Then Reeves added, "And bigger problems don't get solved on the street." Marcus folded the map slowly, his movements precise, controlled. "No," he said. "They don't." He placed it back into the briefcase, then looked past Reeves, toward the end of the block where the distant siren had grown louder. Closer now. Not just one vehicle. Several. The woman followed his gaze. The agents did too. The sergeant turned slightly, tension rising again. Reeves exhaled, almost relieved. "There it is," he said quietly. "Command." Marcus did not move. His eyes stayed fixed on the approaching lights. "Not just command," he said. Reeves frowned. "What do you mean?" Marcus finally looked back at him, calm, unwavering. "I mean," he said, "they're not coming to stop this." He paused, just long enough for the weight to settle. "They're coming because they already know." The approaching lights did not slow down. They multiplied. 2 SUVs, both unmarked, both moving in tight formation, rolled into the block and stopped with precision that felt practiced. Doors opened in near silence. 3 more figures stepped out, all in plain clothes, all carrying the same quiet authority that did not need to announce itself. The street shifted again. Not louder. Heavier. Marcus did not move. His posture stayed the same, but his eyes tracked each step, each position, each angle. He was not watching people. He was mapping movement. "You've got company," Reeves said, voice low, almost steady again, as if familiarity had returned with the arrival. Marcus glanced at him briefly. "I know," he replied. One of the new arrivals stepped forward. Taller. Older. His coat was darker, his pace slower, but the space adjusted around him as he approached. He stopped just short of the group, his eyes moving from the agents to the woman, then settling on Marcus. "Mr. Bennett," he said. "You've been busy." Marcus gave a small nod. "Not busy enough," he replied. The man's gaze sharpened slightly, then shifted to the woman. "You escalated without clearance," he said. "Not a question. A statement." The woman did not step back. "We confirmed voice match," she said. "Captain level." The man considered that, then looked at the sergeant, then at Reeves, then back at Marcus. "And you chose to do it here," he said. Marcus met his eyes. "I chose to do it where it happens," he replied. A brief pause followed. The rain softened again, turning the scene into something almost still. The man stepped closer. "You understand what this becomes if it's mishandled," he said. Marcus nodded once. "That's why it's not being handled quietly," he replied. Reeves watched the exchange carefully now, something shifting inside him again. Not control. Not fear. Calculation. "Sir," he said, addressing the new arrival, "this situation started as a lawful stop. We've got federal involvement, unclear jurisdiction, and now multiple units on scene. We need direction." The man looked at him for a long second. "You'll get it," he said. Then he turned back to Marcus. "What exactly do you think you're proving tonight?" Marcus did not answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket again, slower than before, and pulled out his phone. The screen lit up, rain droplets sliding across the glass. He tapped once. Then turned it outward. A live interface. Secure feed. Time-stamped. The angle was wide enough to capture the entire street. Every vehicle. Every officer. Every word that carried. The woman's eyes narrowed slightly. The agents exchanged a quick glance. Reeves leaned forward just enough to see. "You're streaming this?" he asked. Marcus shook his head once. "Not yet," he said. The words landed differently. The man's expression changed for the first time. Subtle. Controlled. But real. "Who has access?" he asked. Marcus met his gaze. "That depends on what happens next," he replied. The weight of that answer settled across the entire scene. The sergeant shifted his stance again, now fully aware that this was no longer about internal handling. The second agent stepped closer to Marcus, voice low. "You didn't log this either," he said. Marcus glanced at him briefly. "Some things don't get logged," he replied. Reeves exhaled slowly, then looked at the man who had just arrived. "Sir, if that goes public," he started. The man raised a hand slightly, stopping him without looking. His attention stayed on Marcus. "You're holding leverage," he said. Marcus nodded once. "I'm holding accountability," he corrected. A beat passed. Then the man stepped even closer, lowering his voice just enough. "You think you control the timing," he said. Marcus did not move. "I know I control the release," he replied. The difference was clear. Immediate. The rain picked up again, sharper now, tapping against the vehicles, against the pavement, against the silence that followed. Reeves looked between them, the realization settling deeper. This was not a stop. Not an investigation. It was a trigger. And Marcus was holding it. The man studied Marcus for one more second, then asked quietly, "So when does this go live?" Marcus glanced down at the phone, then back up, his voice calm, precise. "The moment someone here tries to shut it down." The man did not respond right away. He studied Marcus, then the phone, then the agents around him, as if recalculating a situation that no longer followed the usual rules. The rain continued, steady, relentless, filling the silence that stretched just long enough to matter. Then he reached into his coat and pulled out his own device. Not a standard-issue phone. Smaller. Thicker. Government encrypted. He tapped once, then twice, his eyes never leaving Marcus. "You're not the only one with contingencies," he said quietly. Marcus did not react. He simply shifted the angle of his phone slightly, making sure the camera still captured every face, every movement, every second. The woman stepped closer to Marcus now, her voice low but firm. "If he triggers something, this could lock down fast," she said. Marcus nodded once. "I know," he replied. "That's why I didn't come alone." That changed the air again. Reeves frowned. "What does that mean?" he asked. Marcus did not answer him. Instead, he tapped his phone once. The screen flickered. A second window appeared. Then a third. Live feeds. Different angles. Different streets. Each one showing similar scenes. Patrol stops. Conversations. Officers unaware they were being watched. The sergeant leaned in, his breath catching slightly. "This isn't just here," he said. Marcus shook his head. "It never was," he replied. The man's expression hardened, but not with anger. With urgency. He stepped forward, lowering his voice. "You're running a coordinated exposure across multiple zones," he said. Marcus met his gaze. "I'm documenting a pattern," he corrected. Reeves looked at the screens, then back at Marcus, something close to disbelief settling in. "You set all of this up?" he asked. Marcus gave a slight tilt of his head. "I gave it a chance to show itself," he said. The difference mattered. The man glanced at his device again, then back at Marcus. "You realize what happens if this goes public," he said. Marcus nodded. "Yes," he replied. "People start asking questions." The woman watched both of them, her expression tightening slightly. "This is bigger than a department," she said. "If this spreads, it hits city level. Maybe state." Marcus did not look away from the man. "Then maybe it should," he said. The rain intensified again, drumming against the vehicles, against the pavement, against the tension that now had no place to hide. The officers who had arrived earlier were no longer just watching. They were listening. Processing. The chain of command had blurred, and everyone could feel it. The man took a slow breath, then made a decision. He raised his device slightly and spoke into it. "Initiate containment protocol," he said. The words were calm. Controlled. But they landed like a shift in gravity. The agents reacted immediately. Subtle movements. Adjusted positions. The perimeter tightened without a single raised voice. Reeves looked around, his earlier confidence replaced by something sharper. "Containment," he repeated. "What does that mean?" The sergeant did not answer. He was watching Marcus now, waiting. Marcus lowered his phone just enough to glance at the feeds again. The multiple scenes continued. Uninterrupted. For now. Then he looked back at the man. "You're trying to close the door," he said. The man nodded once. "I'm trying to control the damage," he replied. Marcus gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. "That's the problem," he said. "You still think this is damage?" A beat passed. Then Marcus tapped his phone again. The interface shifted. A countdown appeared in the corner of the screen. 2:59, the woman's eyes widened slightly. "Marcus," she said, "quieter now, what did you just do?" Marcus looked at her, then at the man, then at the officers around them. "I stopped waiting," he replied. The man's expression changed again, sharper now. "You don't want to do that," he said. Marcus held his gaze. "I already did," he replied. The countdown ticked to 2:58. The rain kept falling. The street held its breath. And for the first time since the stop began, everyone understood that whatever happened next could not be taken back. The countdown hit 2:41, and the sound of rain seemed to sharpen around it, each drop marking time in a way no one could ignore. The man's jaw tightened as he watched the numbers tick down. Then his device buzzed. Once. Twice. He glanced at it, and for the first time since he arrived, his composure cracked just slightly. "That's not possible," he murmured under his breath. Marcus saw it. He did not move. He did not speak. He simply waited. The woman noticed too. "What is it?" she asked. The man did not answer her directly. Instead, he turned the screen outward for a brief second. A secure alert. Federal seal. Authentication verified. Subject, Bennett, Marcus. Clearance level, Tier 1 active. The first agent leaned in, eyes narrowing. "That's above us," he said quietly. Marcus finally spoke. "It was always above you," he said. Reeves stared at the screen, then at Marcus. "You're telling me this whole thing wasn't just an investigation?" Marcus shook his head once. "No," he replied. "It was an authorization." That word landed harder than anything before. The sergeant took a step forward, his voice lower now, more careful. "Authorization for what?" Marcus reached into the briefcase again, but this time he did not pull out a recorder or a folder. He pulled out a thin, sealed document. Different from the others. Dark border. Federal watermark embedded deep into the paper. He handed it directly to the woman. She took it, opened it, and read the first line. Her posture changed immediately. Subtle, but unmistakable. "This is signed," she said, looking up. "Directly." The man stepped closer. "Let me see that." She hesitated for half a second, then handed it over. He read it quickly at first, then slower. His eyes stopped midway down the page. Then he read that line again. Reeves watched him, tension rising. "What does it say?" he asked. The man did not answer right away. He lowered the document slightly, then looked at Marcus with a completely different expression. "Not control. Not calculation. Recognition. You're not here to collect evidence," he said quietly. Marcus met his gaze. "I'm here to validate it," he replied. The woman stepped closer. "Validate what?" she asked. Marcus did not look at her. He kept his eyes on the man. "Scope," he said. The word hung there, precise, final. The man exhaled slowly, then looked back at the document. "This authorizes a full escalation," he said. "Multi-agency exposure. Immediate." The first agent straightened. "Immediate," he repeated. The man nodded once, still reading. "No internal containment," he added. "No delay." Reeves' voice. Cut in, sharper now. "You're saying none of this gets buried?" The man looked up at him. "I'm saying it already can't be," he replied. The countdown hit 2:03. Marcus lifted his phone slightly, the multiple live feeds still running, still capturing everything. Then he tapped once more. The interface changed again. A new window opened. Preloaded recipients. Federal oversight. Media oversight. Civil review boards. All queued. All waiting. The woman saw it and inhaled slightly. "You set the distribution chain," she said. Marcus nodded once. "Before I stepped out of the car," he replied. The sergeant looked between them, the realization settling fully now. "This was never about stopping one officer," he said. Marcus glanced at him briefly. "It never is," he replied. The man folded the document slowly, then handed it back to the woman. His voice was different now. Quieter. Heavier. "We're past the point of control," he said. Reeves took a step back, the weight of it finally catching up. "So what happens now?" he asked. Marcus looked at the countdown. 1:42, then back at the man. "Now," he said, calm and steady, "we find out who still thinks they can stop it." And somewhere behind them, one of the patrol officers reached for his radio, his voice low but urgent, as if someone else had just entered the scene who had not been accounted for. The countdown dropped to 1:21, and for the first time since the night began, Marcus Bennett did not look at the screen. He looked down. Just for a second. Just long enough for something older than the investigation to surface. The rain kept falling, steady, indifferent, washing over the street, over the cars, over the faces that were now watching him not as a suspect, not as an agent, but as the man holding the line between silence and truth. His hand tightened around the phone. Then loosened. The live feeds continued. The evidence was locked. The system was already moving. And yet, something inside him shifted. A memory rose, sharp and uninvited. A kitchen table. Years ago. A small apartment with chipped white cabinets and a flickering overhead light. His mother stood by the sink, hands still wet, her voice soft but breaking. "Marcus, you don't have to carry all of this alone. Just stay. Just sit with me for a minute." He had not stayed. He had grabbed his coat, his files, his anger. "I don't have time for this," he had said, not even looking at her. "If I stop now, nothing changes." The door had closed behind him harder than he remembered. The silence that followed had lasted longer than he ever admitted. Back on the street, Marcus inhaled slowly. The present returned, heavy and immediate. The countdown ticked to 1:09. The man in the dark coat was still watching him. The agents were still in position. Reeves stood quieter now, no longer the center of anything. The world had shifted. But something inside Marcus had not moved forward with it. Not yet. His thumb hovered over the phone. The interface. The release. The moment that would send everything out. He had prepared for this. Every angle. Every contingency. Every outcome except one. He swallowed once, his throat tight. Then he stepped slightly away from the center of the group. Just enough space to breathe. The woman noticed immediately. "Marcus," she said, softer now, "what are you doing?" He did not answer her. Not yet. His other hand reached into his coat pocket. Slowly. Carefully. He pulled out a second phone. Older. The screen was cracked near the edge. He stared at it for a second, as if the weight of it was heavier than anything in the briefcase. The countdown hit 0:58. Reeves shifted slightly, confused. "You're about to drop everything," he said. "And now you're, what, texting?" Marcus finally spoke, his voice lower, unsteady in a way no one had heard before. "Some things should have been said before tonight," he said. His thumb moved. The screen lit up. A contact. Mom. The last message was months old. Unanswered. He hesitated. His hand trembled slightly, just enough to notice if you were looking for it. The rain softened again, like the world was holding its breath with him. The woman stepped closer, her voice careful. "Marcus, we don't have time." He nodded once, eyes still on the screen. "I know," he said. "That's the problem." He typed slowly. Each word deliberate. Then stopped. Deleted it. Started again. His breath caught halfway through. Then, finally, he pressed send. "I'm sorry I left that night. You were right. I should have stayed." The message went through. No response. Not yet. The countdown hit 0:41. Marcus closed his eyes for just a second. When he opened them again, something had changed. Not the situation. Not the stakes. Him. He turned back toward the group, toward the man, toward the agents, toward the line that had been drawn. His voice steadied, but it carried something new now. Not just control. Not just resolve. Something human. "Let's finish this," he said quietly. The man studied him for a moment longer, then nodded once. The countdown dropped to 0:36. And somewhere behind them, a new voice cut through the rain, louder than before, closer than anyone expected, calling out a name that did not belong to anyone standing in that circle. The voice came closer this time. Clear. Urgent. "Marcus." It cut through the rain, through the tension, through everything that had been building all night. Marcus turned before he even realized he had moved. At the edge of the street, past the line of patrol cars, a figure pushed forward, slipping past the last officer who tried to stop her. She did not slow down. She did not hesitate. "Marcus," she called again, breath breaking between each step. His mother. Her coat was half-buttoned, hair damp from the rain, one hand pressed against her chest as if holding herself together while the other reached for him. For a second, everything else faded. The agents. The officers. The man in the dark coat. The countdown still ticking somewhere behind him. None of it mattered in that moment. Marcus stepped forward, faster now, the phone still in his hand but forgotten. "Mom," his voice broke on the word. She reached him and grabbed him before he could say anything else, her arms wrapping around him with a force that surprised him. Not gentle. Not careful. Real. Her hands gripped the back of his coat, pulling him close as if she was afraid he might disappear again. "Don't you ever do that again," she said, her voice shaking, pressed against his shoulder. "Don't you ever leave like that and make me wonder if you're coming back." Marcus froze for a second, then his arms came up around her, holding her just as tight. His hand trembled as it pressed against her back. The rain soaked through both of them, but neither moved. His breath hitched once, then again, and the first tear came before he could stop it. It slid down quietly, lost in the rain, but he felt it. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice low, breaking. "I'm so sorry. I thought I had to carry it all alone." She pulled back just enough to look at him, her hand still gripping his coat, her eyes wet but steady. "You don't," she said. "You never did." Behind them, the street remained still. The agents watched without speaking. The woman lowered her gaze slightly. Even Reeves stood silent now, something in his posture softened by a moment he did not expect to witness. Marcus shook his head slightly, his breath uneven. "I should have stayed that night," he said. "I should have listened." She reached up, her hand touching his face, wiping away the tear he did not even realize had fallen. "You're here now," she said softly. "That's what matters." The countdown reached its final seconds. The phone in Marcus' hand vibrated once, then again, signaling the release he had set in motion. But he did not look at it. Not yet. He held her instead, tighter, as if anchoring himself to something real after standing on the edge of everything for so long. She leaned her forehead gently against his. "Whatever you're facing," she said, her voice quieter now, steadier, "you don't face it without me." Marcus closed his eyes for a brief second, then opened them again, something settled inside him now. Not the pressure. Not the stakes. Something deeper. He nodded once. Then slowly, he turned his head just enough to glance back at the street, at the people, at the consequences already unfolding. The world had changed. The truth was out. But for the first time, he was not standing in it alone. He looked back at her, his voice soft but clear. "I forgot what it felt like to have someone stand with me," he said. She gave a small, tired smile through the tears, her hand still holding his. "Then don't forget again," she replied. And in that moment, with the rain falling and the night finally breaking open, Marcus understood something he had missed for years. Strength was never just about standing alone. It was about knowing who you could stand with.